Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about the Mageblood version of my recently released Accuracy Instacker. As you guys know, this build's a very high investment, but it is an endless money sink because Instackers are just very, very currency hungry, and there is more versions than just what I showed. And I'll go over two of those versions today, the one that I chose with Mageblood, a little bit more movement speed, and Valako's Forbidden Flames, Forbidden Fleshes, and I will also talk about the Sublime Vision version a little bit later, although I personally don't play it. In order to benefit from this video though, you will have to have watched the other video or already know kind of what's going on. So as you can see right here, I'm now running a Mageblood, and there is a few strings attached to going Mageblood. You can just slap it into your build, but believe it or not, on Instackers, removing your belt slot is actually a pretty big deal because you get a ton of int from that, so you have to compensate with a few things. You can see right here, I still have almost 3,500 int, and I think I have around about the same energy shield. My damage went up by around about 25%, and my defenses are a lot more real than they were before with, for example, not running Arctic Armor anymore or Flesh and Stone, which are a little bit situational. And since I want to do efficient, uber-feared rotations next, I really wanted to get the extra move speed from Mageblood and also some more real defenses. First, what I get asked a lot is if you already have a Mageblood and you want to start the build, should you go for Simplex Ami first? Yes, you should. Sell your Mageblood, get the Simplex Ami first. It will set up the build a lot better. Second, the reason Mageblood is quite strong is because of Valako's Storm Embrace. I have this one on my Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh, which are quite expensive. Modifiers to maximum fire res also apply to maximum lightning and cold. So what that means is you only have to get to 90% fire res, maximum fire res, and then you're also automatically 90 max lightning and 90 max cold, as you can see here. Now, since Valakus could go up pretty hard, also remember that Melding of the Flesh exists, which gives you -4 all max and I think 70 is the best roll, yeah, -70 Ellie res, but it also gives you that effect, right? And you can even go for maybe cold or lightning, whatever you feel like. You would, however, have to make up for this -70, so you probably have to go for something like a Bismuth Flask. Or you can also get one of these jewels instead of 4 all attributes, 4 to all elemental resistances. But yeah, this is where it starts. The second thing is Mageblood opens up your reflected helical. So I now have a reflected helical and it went pretty badly. I only got a 1.6 or 1.5 multiplier on this ring, but basically what you want is you want plus to intelligence, crit multi, and all attributes. Now, I will be making a crafting video where I'll talk about it. If I find a video from Captain Lance, he always makes these. Maybe I can find it and then link it down below in the description. But it is a whole process to make these kind of rings. You can also just go for int and all attributes. In fact, I think just int all attributes with a higher multiplier on the reflection would even be better. If you don't know how these kind of rings are made, it's with reflecting mist. But yeah, if you look at my last POB, you can see that my helical here was obviously just resistances to fix a lot of the build, and that is not really necessary anymore. So also changed my flasks and my auras. So for flask, the Ruby Flask with extra effect, and then I have curse immunity. It doesn't matter where you have what, but for suffixes, you want curse immunity, you want critical strike chance, you want movement speed, and you want reduced reflected damage, or whatever you can muster here. But I personally really like being reflect immune. This is for both Ellie and Fizz. The way I personally get to 90 max res is 9% from the Ruby Flask gets me to 84, plus 2 to 86, and then the other +4 is from the purity itself, which also gives a ton of extra fire res. Now I have a little bit of a different situation here as well because I have minus fire res on my helical, which then gets reversed. So depending on what you hit here, and if you have a more mild downside, this can also change. If you find the sockets, you can also go for a empower setup with purity of fire, and then you can replace the +2 max fire res here with aura effect and maybe get to 20, so that the 5 max fire res goes to 6, and then you also have to figure that out. And the aura effect then also boosts your purity of elements, which makes res capping easier, and it boosts your precision. After that, I don't think I've changed too much. I did replace the, like I said, the Lethal Pride with Light of Meaning right here. If you can get CB immune here, that's really good. If you can't, you need to get it somewhere. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much ES you have, CB will absolutely stomp you. I also did add back Wicked Word. A lot of people were saying go Ghost Reaver, and then with the Claw Instant Leech right here, you can definitely do that. The only problem with that is I really like my out of combat recovery. If I see how I die during combat, I never really die. It just doesn't happen. Between the instant leech from here and the energy shield on kill, it just never happens. It's impossible for me to die. The only way I could die is I have nothing to hit and I get pushed down, or maybe there's like a dot, and that's where Wicked Word really comes in. But if you don't want to do that, you can also spend the 2 points here and here. Also regarding Ghost Dance, I didn't take this one because I was running Searing Exarch. That was the biggest reason. And Searing Exarch has a altar that will completely destroy all your evasion. You will literally be on 0 evasion. And with Ghost Dance, that means you cannot recover ES anymore if you're on 0 evasion. So I'll do that right now, actually, because for Feared, I am definitely going to go for the Ghost Shrouds. So yeah, just so you know. Another thing you might have noticed is that I have a new beast right here, and this one is the Primal Thunderbird. It's currently pretty cheap, should stay cheap. Not that many people are using it. I do not have Grace anymore, but I do get it from Thunderbird now. As you can see, Thunderbird is also a lot faster. If I'm just running around, it can easily keep up, and even if I whirl, I very often have the uptime on everything, which also means I get more uptime on my Ferric buffs. If you want another defensive aura, like a Arctic Armor or something, you can definitely do that by adding an extra few points here. It does cost you 4 points, but then you could easily fit it in here. I actually like having this much unreserved mana. I even let the Enlighten in just because I absolutely love the freedom. But that is really up to you. If you want to go even further than this, you can look up whoever you want on PoE Ninja, but this one stood out a little bit to me. You can also go for a Sublime Vision version. This guy's basically me, but with like infinitely better gear. Everything here is basically mirrored. His claws are the best, the cream of the crop. Everything here is like min-maxed. Absolutely. He has the perfect helmet with the abyssal socket, the int, the percentage int. It is just an absolute dream come true, and this guy's stats are out of this world. So if you want to look for, the North Star, that is probably it. There is another version out there, though, which uses 3 rings from the bloodline and then makes it so your utility flasks don't work anymore. And they often use Sublime Vision as well. So it's the same Sublime Vision, different setup, a little bit different pathing, and they go Elemental Overload, which means they have slightly less damage, but Sublime Vision provides you with a lot of upsides, for example, being Penetrate immune. If you don't know what this does, is they are converting all the cold and lightning damage to fire so that they don't have to get any cold or lightning resistance whatsoever, which is obviously insane, because then you don't need the Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame, and you need to get way less res overall. So if you're in for that and you can craft a second GG Helical and you have the money for that and you have the Over a Mirror for the Sublime Vision, then that's definitely a thing. One thing I really don't like about this version, and that I personally was one of the reasons I didn't even think about going it, besides the price, of course, is I love having the movement speed from Mageblood. If you haven't already noticed, Whirling Blades, especially in some layouts, is very weird to use, and you really want that move speed in between. And if I didn't have that, I think I would not enjoy playing this build whatsoever. And mind you, I played this build before Mageblood totally fine, because I also had that Quicksilver, just a little bit less movement speed, and it also felt good. But these guys with the 3rd ring just cannot use it at all. So for example, the guy we talked about earlier, who's using both Mageblood and Sublime Vision, that's your North Star. But yeah, crafting video coming out in the next 24 hours. We're going to talk about how to make the crit jewels, the helmet, the body armor, the clusters, the helical ring, the boots, and then also the Simplex Emmy, although I will only link to Sushi's video right there, which I already linked to in the original video. But yeah, overall, loving the build. Definitely check out some of what the people have done on PoE Ninja. Shout out to everybody who's been giving their input on the build over the last couple of days. And yeah, like I said, crafting video, and then we're gonna see what's next. But I'm absolutely pumped about the rest of this build, and it's time to do some Feared. With that being said, though, because I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.